This is Daniel from Raunow Consulting. Today we're going to pick up where we left off last time. And if you recall, last time we used a Python script and the Selenium package to actually get some data off of the internet and build a small Power BI report with that. Unfortunately, as you saw, we couldn't actually refresh the data from that report because a Python script is not a supported data source for refreshing. So today we're going to see how we can work around that. And one way we can do that is to actually provide the data as a response to an HTTP call. And in order to do that, we're going to use an Azure function. Now we're going to develop the Azure function locally, and to do that, we're going to need something called Azure Functions core tools. If you search for it, you can find this Microsoft documentation that explains how to install it. I've already installed it. Now I'm going to do the development in Visual Studio Code, but I'm going to start it from this Anaconda prompt because my Python installation is part of the Anaconda distribution, and by starting it from here, it should automatically detect the Python interpreter from the distribution. So to start off, we're going to start a terminal, and we're going to run this command. That is going to create our Azure Function project. And as you can see here, we have the files necessary for the Azure function. We're going to go into the function app file, and we're going to paste in our code from last time. Now this is a bit different from what we used last time. First of all, we also have to use the Azure Functions module, and we have to instantiate this app object. This is what we're actually going to be calling through the HTTP call. And the function basically is defined as a function. This is where we have wrapped all of our code with some basic logging info. And differently from last time, we're not going to install the Chrome driver. We're just going to use this command to actually have it find the Chrome driver automatically from the local system. I also have a few lines that are commented out here. Basically, we could use this particular routine to actually run the whole thing without opening the browser windows, but for now we're going to leave it commented out just to actually see the function in action. And apart from this, the other modification is that the table we were generating last time, now we're going to convert it into a JSON object, and we're going to use that as the body of the HTTP response. The other thing that we need to do is also edit the requirements file. This is the file that specifies what packages we need to install to use this. I'm just going to put in Selenium and Pandas over here. Now if we go back to the code, you will notice that we're actually also using JSON, time, and logging, but for some reason these usually just come as part of the initial function project. We don't actually need to specify them into the requirements file. So now that everything is done, let's just make sure that our files are saved. Now what we will do is actually create a Python virtual environment in order to test this function. This will allow us to better simulate how the function actually performs once it's published. Basically, we're just going to make an environment that still is operating on the basis of Python, but doesn't have any of the packages that I already have installed on my local machine. So to do that, we are going to run this. just give it a minute. Hopefully not quite a minute. Okay, now we can activate it. So, as you can see, now we are in the Python virtual environment. And we should be able to start our function now. And we got an error because the packages are not installed. What I should have done first was a pip install on the requirements file. Okay, that seems to have worked, and now if we try again, our function should hopefully start. Yes, and as you can see here, our function is now running at this address. So now if we copy this and run it in a web browser, should run. So as you can see here, it actually opened the Chrome browser. And if we go back to Visual Studio Code, should also see the logging, and the function successfully executed. And as you can see, we have our response here with the data that we were collecting. And I can show you that this should work in Power BI as well. I'm going to do a web source. Just paste in the URL. And we have our data here. So now, technically, we should be able to deploy this to the Azure portal and use it as a data source. But if we do that, we still have another problem that we need to solve, namely the fact that right now, even though we're running it from a virtual environment, it's still using an existing Chrome driver and the existing Chrome browser installation on my local system. In order to be able to do that in the portal, we're actually going to have to deploy this function as a container application. And that will be the subject of next week's video. Until then, thank you very much for your attention, and see you on the next video.